Sorry to keep you waiting, ladies and gentlemen. I was busy today. How are we doing? Happy Monday. Welcome to the show today. Happy Labor Day for those that celebrate. Happy Labor Day. I mean, I guess I celebrate, but I work today. So, no, it wasn't crazy. I didn't go to the clinic. I just had to see a few patients. I told them I'd come see them. So, I spent some time with two of my lovely patients, helped them out, did a little work, and then I went and had to run an errand or two. And when I came home, here we are. I had to eat some food real quick. And my daughter, she was studying. She comes back from the study room. She goes, why is this paper towel here? Did you eat pizza without me? I was like, yeah, I had to eat some dinner, some lunch. And I was like, go wash your grubby little hands. And she got mad that I told her she had grubby hands. But it's the life of a parent. Anyways, fight with your kids sometimes. Not fight, but anyways, I know you don't care about that, but that's why I'm late. Had a little side banter going on. But we're here. Nick Bosa isn't. He isn't here. He hasn't signed a contract yet. We're waiting. Before we get into the news real quick, I want to say rest in peace to Steve Harwell. I don't know if you guys saw this news today. Sad news. The former lead singer of Smash Mouth. I know not a lot of people like Smash Mouth. I'm not like a big Smash Mouth fan, but growing up in that era, the movie Shrek, it's an iconic movie for my day and age. All-star. Hey, now you're an all-star. Lead singer passed away today. It was kind of tough. He had 56 years old. Alcohol led to liver failure. It kind of hit home because it's what happened to my dad. He was 55. So rest in peace, Steve Harwell, man. That's crazy. That song is iconic. Anytime I hear that song now or see that movie Shrek, I'm going to think about Steve Harwell. Good song. Iconic. But let's talk about Nicholas John Bosa, shall we? Shall we talk about this? We have less than a week away. Honestly, we're a week away from Victory Monday. Okay, this is a week away from Victory Monday, not the game now. We might not have Victory Monday if Nick Bosa doesn't sign up his contract this week. Nick Bosa, Brian Burns, and Chris Jones have not signed their contract. Can you believe that? Can you believe these three guys are all holding out? I don't think I've ever seen this before. These guys are all using leverage. This is crazy. This is kind of crazy. Chris Jones, Brian Burns, and Nick Bosa are all out there, three of the best defensive linemen in the entire NFL. Who's setting the market? Is it because one of them wants to set the market? I don't think they all have, I don't think they're looking at each other individually. I think they're, or each, one of the guys. Like, I don't think Chris Jones is looking for Bosa's camp. I don't think Brian Burns is looking at, Bosa's camp and vice versa. But I feel like at some point, one of these guys has to crack, and then that's when the seal is going to break loose and these guys are going to sign. That's kind of what I think, but you have three of the best defensive linemen. They haven't signed their extensions, and all three of them could break the market, Like, let's say Brian Burns sets the market. Chris Jones can break it, and then Nick Bosa can top him. So this is kind of crazy. It's unprecedented to me, honestly. I don't think I've remembered a time where three players in pretty much the same area of play have held out in one offseason. This is crazy, man. This is crazy to me. It's getting a little worrisome. I don't know. I wasn't worried at all, but the 49ers today, I was listening to the press conferences and all these things, the locker room interviews. Talanoa Hufanga and Tashawn Gibson, both of them said that, hey, man, we want him out there. He's our best player. He's a game changer. But they understand business is business. But they're basically preparing this week like Nick Bosa is not going to be there. He wasn't in practice, and they have to prepare like he's not going to be there. And that's the reality of the situation. It's unfortunate, right? It is unfortunate. It is a real-life game of chicken flood that these guys now, they know their best player might not be there on Sunday. So they have to really take this into consideration. And I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, Bosa, he's just trying to get, a tactic. He'll sign. There's no way he misses a game check. Oh, there's absolutely a way he's going to miss a game check. He doesn't care because eventually he's going to get his money. He's trying to prove a point. You don't get this far, just to get this far. If you're Nick Bosa and his agent, you got to do it. At this point, you're pot committed. You're all in. You're all in. Nick Bosa is all in. All in. If he misses a game, he's betting on the 49ers to lose that game now, to lose to the Steelers. And then he's going to wake up on Monday. John Lynch is going to call him begging, Nick, we don't have Victory Monday. I didn't get a victory donut. We lost this game. We need you. We need you. I will sign the papers. That's what Nick Bosa is waiting for. He's waiting for them to beg him and crumble. The pressure's on the Niners to make this happen. They knew this was going to get to this point. Am I staying positive? I am. I feel like it will get done eventually, but they just need to get it done now because this is getting to the point where it's like, okay, now I think the locker room, you could just see it in their eyes. You could kind of feel it in their voice when Talanoa and Gibson were addressing the media today. Both of them said like they kind of said it shaky, like, yeah, we understand he has to do what he has to do. It's his contract and XYZ. But you could feel like the pressure's on this defense now. They got to go out there and show that they're the best defense without Nick Bosa. They got to show what they can do. They're a good defense, but they're not elite without Nick Bosa. He changes everything. He's the game changer. Now this defense has to go out there. There's a lot of pressure on this defense. Week 1, road game. They're a Super Bowl pick for a lot of teams. A lot of people expect the 49ers to be a top 5 team in the NFL, top 3 team, top 2 team. Some people think they're the top team in the NFL. There's a lot of pressure on this defense. They know. They're different with Nick Bosa. Like, just the morale might be a little different. Once Nick Bosa gets back in that locker room, when he gets back and his presence, it's going to change everything because he's larger than life, right? He's a megastar. He's a superstar. Right? A superstar. He changes it. When a guy like that, when a big superstar walks in to the building, man, it's just like you just feel the electricity, right? It's just like, man, it's like when The Rock comes into a live event. You guys, I don't know if you guys ever watch sports entertainment, WWF or WWE nowadays. When I was young, grew up, I remember one time I went to a live event and The Rock came in, and I mean, the crowd, you just got like chills. Like other wrestlers, they were cool. It was like whatever. But when you're like a superstar of a team or a company or whatever, the mega star, you just feel like chills, man. He came out. I was like, dude, it was deafening. Crowd went wild. Like when Nick Bosa comes in, he is that larger than life player for this team. Like the Niners, they look up to him. These younger defensive linemen, they ask him, how do you do this? Give me some techniques. Drake Jackson, it's like Trent Williams on the offensive line, like, right? These young guys look up to him because he's so good. How do you be like him? The younger players want to know. They're going to ask you. He just changes it for everybody. The locker room, you could tell, it's a little different without Nick Bosa. He needs to be there. Now, do I think the 49ers can win without Nick Bosa? They can. They can win without Nick Bosa. I'm not saying that they won't win without Nick Bosa, but the odds are a little bit stacked against them the more Bosa's out. And the longer he's out and the more they lose, it just helps Nick Bosa, man. He knows it. It's leverage. Again, the 49ers have a good team. They could win games without Nick Bosa, but I don't think they win a Super Bowl, and they're going to lose some games that they probably shouldn't without Nick Bosa. And he knows that, man. It's a tough situation, but Nick Bosa not being at practice today, again, it was a bonus practice. We'll see. Maybe he's flying into the Bay as we speak. I've heard different things. We don't know what the heck is the real situation, other than the fact that the 49ers not met what the agent wants. The agent has a certain price, and Nick Bosa is sitting there waiting for that price to get, met by the 49ers. The 49ers had a certain price going into this. You know that. It's well documented. We've all talked about this. They budgeted a certain amount, but whatever they budgeted wasn't the right amount. So Lawrence says they're going to wait 2 days before the game to start to pay Bosa. Just watch. I mean, I hope so. I hope they don't wait 2 days. I mean, at this point, whatever, they got to pay him. But to me, it's just get it done. It doesn't make sense to keep letting it linger. The 49ers have had a lot of drama. We don't need any more. Like, I get it. I know TJ Watt did this a couple years ago, right? His holdout, they signed him 2 days. But he was in Pittsburgh. He was out there. He was, proactive. He was trying to get his contract taken care of. He held out, but he was there. He was in the building. Nick Bosa's not at the building today. It's Monday. Granted, it's Labor Day. Maybe he's taking the day off because he's proud to be an American. He's a true American. He's not going to go in there and work on Monday. Maybe that's the kid. Maybe Nick Bosa just say, hey, it's a fucking day off. It's Monday. It's Labor Day. Why am I in the office? I'm not coming in there. Maybe tomorrow Nick Bosa shows up. It's Labor Day today. Maybe I'm being too tough. Maybe I'm worried a little bit too much. Yeah. Jimmy says they're gonna have a lot of salary tied up to a few players. Yeah, it's true, 100%. And we talked about this the other night. It definitely has a big impact on the future. Like, this is a lot of ramifications for the future, but we know that. And the 49ers know that. They knew this going in there. Like, this is going to have a big impact on signing free agents next year. If they can extend Brandon Ayuk, we all know that. But this is a business move. When you draft a player like this of his caliber and he hits and he develops into the player that he is, he's a star player. This is the reality of getting a star player, star quarterback, star edge rusher, star whatever, a star at any position. If you draft them and they develop and turn into their full potential, they've bloomed into a beautiful flower. It's the reality of it. Now you have to continue to nurture that flower or it's going to die a miserable death and he'll go to another team, in this case in the NFL. But that's it, right? That's the case, and that's where we're at. It's I think at this point Nick will miss the first game to prove a point. I honestly do. 49er Faithful says, I just don't think he plays this game. A lot of people don't. Do you guys do? Leave a comment. Yes or no. What do you guys think? Do you think Nicholas John Bosa, plays on Sunday? Do you think he signs and plays on Sunday? What do you think? Let's see. Show of hands. What do you think? I still am going to be optimistic. I still think tomorrow is going to be a monumental day, and he's going to sign, and we're going to be hyped up. I think he'll play tomorrow. Or I think he'll sign tomorrow and play Sunday. But I'm not going to sit here and say you're wrong if you say otherwise, because it is getting close. They are practicing without him being there. So we got to know he won't play. Peter Park says nope. Niner Faithful says nope. Supreme says if Bosa does not play, the defense is not the same. Jimmy says the 49ers still can win. They can. They have a good offense. That's the thing. The offense is really going to have to be leaned upon heavily. Brock Purdy's going to have a lot of pressure on him to cook it up. But it's not going to be an easy game with or without him. Steelers are a tough game, but I think they still can win this game. Definitely. If they win this game, joke's on Nick. And the team's going to be like, hey, look at you. We don't need you. I don't think it gets to that point. But, then they're going to be like, okay, sign up. We can win games without you. Sign your damn check. Peter Parker says Lynch had all off-season to get this done. He did. He had all off-season. What was he doing? Was he at the Bermuda Triangle? What the hell was John Lynch doing this off-season? He wasn't drafting. He didn't have to draft until later in the draft. Didn't have a first-round pick. He lets everybody else do his scouting. What was he doing? He was at Stanford. What was he doing? Bermuda Triangle. I think I like that one. What was John Lynch doing this offseason? I don't know. Trying to trade Trey Lance. That's what he was doing. Omar says, so Raj, say he doesn't sign for some reason or other. What do you think they do? I mean, they're still going to push to get this extension. If they don't sign week 1, they're going to keep continuing to knock it down until eventually they figure this out. I mean, at this point, that's all you can do. You can only hope to sign this contract and get it done, unless it gets to such a point where both sides are like, nope, this is not a good relationship. Unless it gets to the point where the relationship gets sour, and then they figure something else, trade or whatever. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think the relationship's sour. I still think the Niners really want Nick Bosa to be there, and I still think Nick Bosa really wants to be with the 49ers. I think that they both want to coexist. They want this relationship to work. They really do. But they have to enter counseling at this point. That's what they need to do. They need counseling, ladies and gentlemen. And they're there. They're at this point where they just can't come to an agreement. I think eventually they'll figure it out. But they should have started earlier. And I think that's what Peter Parker's basically saying. You had all offseason, Lynch. Where were you? The Bermuda Triangle? If they would have started a little earlier, I don't think they'd be at this point. That's what I think. But, yes, if they don't sign this week, they got time. I don't think it's gotten to the point where the relationship is sour. That's where I feel. I still think they both want to get this done. It's just bargaining. It's the business. And the business side of the NFL sucks. It absolutely sucks. And the agent is tough. The agent is absolutely tough. He's the same agent that, that signs his brother's contract. His brother had a very tough negotiation himself. Rookie, and then his extension. It was very, very, very intense. Almost held out. And he has Joe Burrow as a client. And his intense situation is going to become – Joe Burrow's contract is going to be insane when it gets to that point. It's going to be wild. But this agent, it's their family business. My thing, this is the way I see it. I think when Nick Bosa and Joey Bosa were in high school and they knew they were super athletes and their father knew who they were, he probably told them, like, you guys train, you become the best player that you can. Don't worry about money. Here's your agent. This guy's going to get you guys what you need when the time comes. Like, their job was to focus, be the best they can, get their bodies in chiseled shape, whatever, be the best they can in college, get into the NFL and grind it out. When the time comes, they're going to get paid, and that's where they're at. Now the time has come for Nick, and his agent's going to do what he can to get him paid. And I don't think a lot of people like the agent because he kind of makes Nick Bosa look like an asshole. He does, 100%. He does. Claymore Customs. Yeah, I saw this report. This is from 49ers Sports Talk. I mean, it's not really a sourced report, but he does, get a lot of stuff right. He said some stuff. So let me pull this up. This is from 49ers Sports Talk. This is not from a national media or anything, but this guy does post on Twitter a lot. So he's basically saying that the Niners and Nick Bosa's camp, the $4 million is now about a $2 million gap, and Nick Bosa wants $110 million guaranteed. That's what this report says, basically. I don't know how true that is. I don't know if that's the case. Again, I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to sit here and say that's true. I'm not going to say that source is 100%. I'm not going to say that source is not, because I don't know. Maybe he knows. Maybe we don't. I don't know. But if that is true, if that's the case, if that is true, $2 million. I get $2 million is a lot. Hey, I want $2 million. I'm not going to say it's not a lot of money. But in this sense, in this case, when you're talking about that much money, $2 million. Yo, John Lynch, pick up the phone, my guy. Pick up the phone. You can cut some guy on the roster that we really don't need for Nicholas John Bosa. $2 million. If it gets down to the point where it's really $2 million a year, if you're splitting hairs over $2 million, that is disgusting. You need to pay Nick Bosa. If it's gotten to that point where John Lynch and the 49ers, Parag Marathe, whoever is signing these, whoever it is, whoever's decision it is to not pay him, Jed York, whoever it is, Kyle Shanahan, Adam Peters, whoever's decision is the guy that says don't pay him that extra $2 million. Yo, you need to be fired. That's disgusting to me. What's up, 49er Jeff? Stephen Reynolds says, cut Oliver and Zakel. Cut them out. Cut them all. They're not going to be doing much. Nick Bosa have more impact with his eyes closed than those two guys. Pay Bosa. He earned it. Pay that man. Defensive player of the year. Defensive rookie of the year. 98 pressures last year. The guy carried the team on his back. Put that team on his back so many times. Now, offense is going to have a lot of pressure. My man, Peter Parker says, what we paid for 2 drinks and fries at the game, you can pay $2 million to Bosa. Come on, Lynch. Absolutely. Do you know how much they charge me for a beer? $20 for one beer. You're making that. You make that up in one game. You're selling those $20 beers, John. You are making that $2 million up real quick. My man Jimbo says Bosa's going to go broke if he's only getting $100 million, right? Must be eating caviar. I mean, it's a lot of money. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say that. I mean, we're at the end of the day, we're squabbling over a couple of millions, and a lot of people are going to say these are rich, entitled athletes. Da 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 da. At the end of the day, man, these guys, this is it. This is their livelihood. You'd want to get as much money as you can if you were in their position. The NFL does not care about them. They get hurt, they're right off, and they'll find some other Joe Schmo to replace them. That's how the NFL is. They don't care about you. There's no real player safety. These guys, they work their entire life. They work their ass off. They train. They absolutely train their entire life. They commit everything to get to this moment. If you become the best of the best, you deserve your money. I get it. It's a lot of money that they're paying these grown men to go play a game, but they have played this game since they were young boys, and they trained, and they trained, and they trained, and they trained, and now they're the best of the best. They should deserve that money. I mean, whatever you do in your life, if you train and you study and you work hard to get to the peak of your job, you want to have the top of your career, your field, right? Let's say whatever job you do, the most you can ever make in that job is $200K. And you're at that point where you can make that money. You want that. You're going to do what you can. And if that company's not going to pay you that money, you're going to leave until you find the company, right? That's the way I see it, man. And now Jimmy says, what does Bosa want, a Super Bowl or a bag? He wants them both. You can want both. In order to get this team to the top, to the pinnacle, to the top of the mountain, to the Super Bowl, you got to pay your best players, man. I get it. Like, People are going to say that he's going to be choosing between money and winning. You can have both, because if you're an athlete, a super talented player like that, of course you want to help your team win at the best of your abilities. But at the same time, you want to be compensated for putting in all that work. I mean, that's the way I see it. I don't think Bosa is doing anything bad. I got a lot of texts today where people are fed up with Nick. They said he's an asshole. He's a thief. I'm saying, I got texts on my phone. People are like, he's dumb. His agent is the guy that's driving this. And I also don't want to hate on the Niners front office. I know I'm coming out here and I'm being really tough on them. At the end of the day, you had it all. You had the whole offseason to figure it out. I'm not hating on the 49ers office, but this is the same business you've been doing every year. You drag it out. You think that you're going to end up, squeezing a player out for a couple of $1 million, a couple $100K. You nickel and dime. I'm not mad at the Niners because they ultimately usually get these things done. But at the same time, man, you got to have a little bit more, like, what's the word I'm looking for? You need a little bit more gusto. You need a little bit more aggressiveness and say, hey, look, Nick, you just have to pay the guy what he wants, man. Sometimes you got to make the big move. Because here's the thing, man. The 49ers, they didn't blink an eye. They didn't think twice about paying Jimmy Garoppolo a couple years ago. After 5 games, okay? After 5 games, you came in, and it was like a beautiful run, and everybody was swinging on Jimmy G, man. They were swinging on this guy. I was too. Hey, I was like, we might have just got the guy. We might have got the franchise. Everybody was hyped up about Jimmy. They waited no time. They wasted no time. Made Jimmy Garoppolo the highest paid quarterback. At one point, he was the highest paid player. Jimmy Garoppolo, after 5 games, you paid that man so much money, and you did not blink an eye. Now, Nick Bosa, he might miss a game. He might miss week 1. But when it's Jimmy Garoppolo, you didn't blink an eye. You paid everybody else. That's my only beef with the 49ers front office. Because, again, I get it. I know where they're coming from. They have to plan for the future. Brandon Ayuk, there's a lot of players next year that might not be able to get paid. I absolutely get it, John Lynch. I absolutely get it, Parag Broth. I absolutely get it, Jed York. But guess what? You wasted no time to pay Jimmy Garoppolo that money. Charlene, this is it. Put the bow on the point that we're making. Maybe Jimmy is why they're going to try. Maybe they don't want it to come back and bite them in the ass. That could be it. That could be it, right? And that's why they signed McKinnon too. They signed a lot of players that first year. They had to make moves. They took over a roster. Jerick McKinnon, Jimmy Garoppolo, and they paid him a lot of money. But guess what? They did get hurt. And I see that part of this point of being one of the reasons why the Niners might say, I'm committing a lot. Because, again, let's use that number that my man threw out, right, on Twitter, $110 million guaranteed. Imagine if John Lynch is ready to fork over $110 million guaranteed to Nick Bosa. If he gets hurt, that's a lot of money to pay a hurt player. Because what happened to D Ford? Man, was damaged goods. So I do see why the 49ers could be hesitant. But, man, you only have this chance to sign this. He's the best player in the NFL. You can't sit there and think he's going to get hurt. You can't sit there and wait like, oh, man. You can't have that in the back of your mind. You can't say, oh, man, what if you get – that's always the case with any player in the NFL. That's the risk you take. That's the gamble. The NFL is a gamble. The draft is a gamble. Signing players, free agency. You never know, man. Life is like a box of chocolates, right? A famous man once said, his name was Forrest. I don't know if you know, but a man named Forrest once said, very famous quote, he says, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And this situation is just like what that man Forrest said one time. This situation, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if Nick Bosa is going to get hurt, but you do know one damn thing. This man is a hell of a football player. And Nigel, nobody can prevent injuries. You can't predict them. You can't prevent them. You can only hope that nobody gets them. So absolutely correct. Nobody can prevent them. But you never know. You absolutely never know if a player is going to get hurt, man. Nigel says, I thought Tom Hanks said it. He did. Tom Hanks played Forrest Gump. You guys are, I said Forrest. But if you really think about it, Tom Hanks, who played Forrest Gump. Now y'all with me. Keep up. That was a bar. 49er Ben, though. See, this is the argument, and I love this conversation because my man 49er Ben, shout out to my boy. He says Nick's brother is living proof. You pay him, and then the injury. I mean, that's the risk, right? That is the risk because Joey Bosa did get hurt, and they paid him a lot of money, 29.8 million or something, 28 million, something like that, a year. I mean, it's true. Again, there is a risk. There is a risk, and I know it's a lot of money we're paying him, and that's just what John. So you guys are now thinking like John Lynch, right? You're like sitting there shitting your pants because you have the contract. You're like this. You're looking at the contract. You're looking at the contract. You're looking at the contract. God, what if he gets hurt? What if he tears another ACL? What if he doesn't? What if we win a Super Bowl? I look like the genius that brought Nick. Oh, he was my draft pick, and I'm gonna look so. But what if he gets hurt? So that's the dilemma. What if he gets? But what if he gets another Defensive Player of the Year? Micah Parsons will be salty. Raj will be posting the tweet receipts. Oh God, that's good. That's good content. But what if he gets hurt? That's the dilemma right there. So you guys are right. Absolutely true. It is a dilemma. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? But at the end of the day, he's your best player on your team. He deserves his money. The guy's worked his ass off. Your Defensive Player of the Year in the prime of his career. Your best player on this defense. He was Defensive Rookie of the Year. He makes you look good. You don't have Nick Bosa on this team, you're not winning the Super Bowl. That's my opinion. And that's my story I'm sticking to. So it's a tough situation, though. It's a tough situation. Russ says if we go to Pittsburgh with no O-line, Purdy's going to get crushed. We got an O-line. Offensive line starters are good. But the X factor is going to be Colton Malkovich, as we call him. Malkovich has a big game ahead of him. We know this. We've been talking about Malkovich all offseason. TJ Watt versus Malkovich. It's going to be must-see TV. Well, I don't know if it's going to be must-see TV. But it's going to be TV to see. Oh, man. Oh man, let's get to some of these questions. You guys are active in the chat. Shout out to the chat real quick. Take a 5-second break. Shout out to the chat. I love you guys so much, man. You guys are very engaging, interactive. We got 100 people on here. Hit that like button. You know, do what you got to do. Hit the like button. We got to help the channel grow. We got to help the YouTube grow. That's what we want to do, man. But I appreciate you guys for all the support. Twitter, Instagram, all the stuff out there. Love you guys, man. The chat in this YouTube is always fresh. You guys always are good. I like it. I can try to keep up as much as I can. I try my best to get to the comments. So, my man 49er Faithful says, I swear if he misses week 1, week 2, I will be pissed because the 49ers are taking forever to sign the best player when they had a whole offseason. Talk about that. They had all offseason. My man Willie, Cowboys fan, says, how are y'all about the Steelers game if you don't have Nick? What's up, Willie? Yeah, so we've been talking about that. I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie to you. The Steelers are a good team, very underrated team. They have T.J. Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and many other guys. They have a really good coach. Mike Tomlin's a very good coach, and they're always a very well-coached team. They always play well, even if they don't have a lot of stars. Like when their quarterback situation was murky after Big Ben, they always were in game. They're a team that can play no matter what. They always have a chance to win games, man, because that coach, he pushes them. He's a very good strategic guy, you know, X's and O's. He knows it, man. He can game plan for anybody. You got to respect Mike Tomlin, man. He's been one of the best for the last 2 decades. They got Najee Harris. Kenny Pickett's looked good in the offseason. You know, a lot of people are high on him, and they got some good receivers, man. One of the best young receivers out there. So, going to be a tough game. I'm not going to lie to you. And the home crowd in Pittsburgh is tough, man. Just like the Niner fans, they travel very well. And, you know, this is their home opener. So, I'm sure they're going to be bringing the energy. So, yeah, good question, Willie. It's not going to be an easy game, especially if Nick Bosa is not out there. He changes everything for the 49ers. The 49ers, you know, they have a good defense. You got Fred Warner and then, you know, Dre Greenlaw. We know all those guys. Javon Hargrave and Arik Armstead. We know they have so many good players. But Nick Bosa changes it. He's their edge rusher. He's their power man. He's the difference maker. He gets quarterbacks scared. You know, people have to double team him. They have to plan for him. When he's in there, more pressure is on the offensive line. It takes pressure off the back end on the secondary. So it's tough for this team without him. I mean, we have a good team, but Nick Bosa makes him elite. And you got to realize this stat, which I said the other day, right? Nick Bosa with the playoffs combined had 98 pressures. He had 98 pressures last year. The next closest player was Clelin Ferrell, Clelin Ferrell, he had 23. He wasn't on the team last year, so that's a big gap. Pressures create diamonds, man. So very tough. Very tough. Russ says if Kittle isn't 100% and can't block, that's going to hurt this team. Let's talk about Kittle. I think Kittle's going to be okay this week. They've been very cautious with him. They're playing it safe. They don't want to hurt. They don't want him to get hurt. He's been dealing with an adductor strain, inner hip injury, kind of upper thigh groin area. He's been having that issue during the offseason, but I think he's going to be okay. Kittle's tough. He's a gamer. They've been very, very limiting with him. They don't want him to get hurt. He was on the side field running today. I think they'll be very, easy with him in practice this week, but I think he'll be ready to roll. It's George Kittle. He ain't missing week 1, man. George Kittle's not missing week 1. But, yeah, something to keep an eye on. I think he'll be there. We can't have no Nick. If Kittle doesn't play, if Kittle and Bosa don't play, that's a murky game. But I think Kittle will play. 100% I think he'll play. He's been dealing with this all offseason, and they've been very, very, very cautious. So just keep an eye on that, though. Good question. Trent is Trent. Game changer, yup. Bosa wants to be the highest paid defensive player. San Francisco is offering to pay him to be the highest paid pass rusher. $4 million difference. Yeah, something like that. We all know he wants to be, his agent wants him to be the highest non-quarterback in the league. I think the 49ers are okay with paying him as the highest edge rusher, but there's a difference there. So I feel like that's where they got to decide. Like, do they think Nick Bosa's, we all know he's the best pass rusher. We know he's the best pass rusher, so they want to pay him like that. But will they pay him as the best defensive player in the NFL? If they believe Nick Bosa is the best player in the NFL, if the 49ers, in their heart of heart, thinks that Nick Bosa is the best player in defense of all the players in the NFL, right? Oh, we just get a report from Ian Rappaport. I might have to leave. If they think Nick Bosa is the best player in the entire NFL, they got to pay him this money and let him be happy. I'm gonna go off. I just seen an update from Ian Rappaport. I want to see what this is about. But yeah, let's hope that Nick Bosa gets paid. We'll be back a little later. I'm gonna go live on Instagram in about 20 minutes. But I got to see what Ian Rappaport just said. You guys have a good rest of your day. We'll be back, and I got to see what this. I just saw the notification. I don't think he got his contract yet, but this is important. I got to go see what it is. So I can't jump on this and that at the same time. We'll be back. Let's see what happens, man. You guys have a good rest of your day. We will be back. Make sure you hit that like button. I really, really, really appreciate all the support. Take care. I'll be back soon.